Hi, everybody. Welcome to our new episode. We are going to talk about a couple things, which is when you're out in life and you're walking through life and you're viewing the circumstances around you. And I've got a weird echo. Darn it. Anyways, when you're walking through life and how do you not have sorry.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to fix the echo. Sorry, guys. But how do you not have your circumstances impact your attitude, your frame of mind?
Well, you take charge of yourself.
Yeah.
You recognize that the speaking going on is not personal. So when you acknowledge the facts of being, that establishes the law for the situation.
Yeah. So one of the things that I saw was that when I looked at this was that I can literally choose. That it's that simple, really. Like and it's just one of the things, given what we're looking at right now in the world, and I'm still got reverberation, and I'm not quite sure why. Let me just play with a couple things. Okay, so, there we go. I muted you, Betty, and now I'm not getting the reverberation. So interesting. It must be going back through you and then coming back this way. So I've got you muted for a minute. Hold on. So basically what happened is you wake up and you look at the news, and the news isn't what you wanted to hear. And you're disappointed with certain aspects of how things are going. And you think, oh, it's just not worth it. I'm so demoralized. And I sat there in that moment right there this morning, and I said, wait a minute. Who's in control of my attitude? Who's in control of my frame of mind and my orientation? And that's me. And I'm not going to let circumstances out there in the language world and the appearance world and what it appears to be impact my attitude, my frame of mind, that I get to choose that. And in the choice of that, in the realization of that, I was like, oh my God. And believe it or not, I've been in a great mood all day long. I've been like, and I'm looking at things differently. Life shows up differently when I've got that point of view, when I've got that where I'm like, you know what? I don't need to be whipsawed around by my circumstances, by the way things appear that maybe I don't like. Maybe I don't like that appearance. I don't need to be whipsawed by that. I don't need that to use that to inform how I feel, or to be a reaction machine is the way I think you would put it, Betty. So I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to unmute you, because now I can see what the problem is. We can fix that later. But anyway, I'm going to unmute you and see what you say about that. But that's one of the things that was super powerful to me. And I thought, let's talk about this and what science has to say, because there's huge, huge freedom and peace and joy with that outlook. And it's been present for me all day.
Yep. Yep. And that acknowledgement, there was a thing that Margaret had one time when she said, when you're acknowledging the facts of being, it's not personal. The two-legged Betty can't acknowledge being. Only God can acknowledge God. So it is like a signal of where you're standing when your acknowledgement is fact-based. So when you're acknowledging reality, when you're taking the opportunity, if I can put it that way, to stand in the facts as you know them, it's not personal. It's not Betty talking anymore. It's being.
Yeah.
Sounding like the language of Betty. But there is freedom in that, because you're no longer the two-legged thing being tossed around by the circumstances.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And what I'm seeing is that there's true power in claiming that. Like, there's a discipline in saying, I am not going to allow the look of things to dictate who I be and my perspective and my attitude. I'm going to generate that attitude that I choose to generate because I say so, and not be dictated by those circumstances or by that view that I may not agree with or that might get me down. And there's huge power there for exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and that's where that saying comes from that Margaret said, that may be the way it looks, but that is not the way it is.
Yeah.
Because you're living the way it is.
Right.
And allowing it to look any old way it needs to look.
Right. And I'm reminded of this quote.
Yeah, your decision, the direction they take.
Right. Your decisions will master you for whichever direction they take. And that's exactly it.
Yep. And so when you are standing in being, you have the freedom. When you're standing in your two-legged stuff, you feel burdened and uncertain and all that stuff. You're being tossed by the circumstances.
Right. And I will tell you that sometimes life doesn't look the way we want it to look. But the fact is that being itself takes care of it if you don't attach yourself to the look.
Yep. Yep.
And the other thing I noticed that's really cool is that I also noticed that I started to get very curious. And this is what's interesting. I know. And I've got you muted so that it's not reverberating when I talk, Mom. So hang on. But the thing that's really curious, I got curious. So all along, I have a particular opinion. And I know that I'm right in my opinion, right? Like, I mean, we all do. Why would we have it if we don't think we're right? And then I started to think about things today. And I started to think, you know what? If there's a lot of people that have a completely different point of view than me, what is it? Because I don't understand how anybody could have that point of view, truthfully. And so I started to say, you know what? What is it that's going on that has that view? And I'm now curious to find out, how come? What is that? What am I not seeing? What am I? And it's opened up a whole different curiosity for me, rather than me hanging on to my righteousness about it, just from giving up, not letting that dictate my point of view and my outlook. And so that's interesting. And I'm gonna unmute you.
Yeah. The thing is that you don't, oh dear, I had it right on the tip of my tongue. Now I have to think about it a minute. We don't, we forget that the human picture always occurs in the mode of paradox. So it isn't that I have a negative point of view and you have a positive point of view. Remember the paradox stick with rich, poor, right, wrong, sick, well, all of the opposites, the extremes, and everything in between. That's the paradox picture, and it occurs all the time. It's not something I choose to do. It's that the language picture that I see 24/7 in my human living is always that way. There's always both opposites and everything in between. So I can't look and say, well, I'm over here and you're over there, because the truth of the matter is that I've got both of them if I want to be whole.
Right.
So the human picture is going to look like everything from A to Z all the time. So there's no personal thing that says, shame on you, you're over there with Z. I'm over here with A. Good for me.
Right.
I'm half baked when I do that, because I have all or I have nothing.
Yes.
It's whole and it's wholeness. So it isn't that I have a point of view. It's that I either see the fact of being and live that consciously, or I'm stuck with my point of view of my human living, whatever that may be. And it goes up and down and in and out.
Yeah. And I want to say, in what happened today that I'm reflecting on is that wait a minute, I don't need to be anxious. I don't need to have the circumstances that I'm seeing dictate my attitude. That's literally how I thought about it. It's like, wait a minute, I don't need that to dictate my attitude. I can look right where I am and I can cause whatever attitude I want. And I'm in control of that. I get to choose. And that was the freeing moment. That's what it looked like in my human living, walking through it. That's what it looked like. And that was really powerful to see because it's an access point to the divine.
Yep. Yeah, and it also goes back to remember Margaret talking about Victor Young conversation, and he said to her, who's talking, you or Margaret? It's that presence that you are. And when you're being yourself, you're home free. Peace and joy and freedom. When you're being a two-legged animal, you got everything in the paradox right there, running the show.
Yeah. And that brings me up to this next little point that I want to say, which is the peace you make within yourself by living yourself insightfully as mind is the peace of all. Now, relate that to what opened up for me this morning, like just setting your own attitude or whatever, however that shows up, but relate the two.
Well, when you are standing in being, when you are acknowledging, when you're living the acknowledgement of facts, when you're living the freedom of I am all, and the I is not personal. It's the one I, the mind present, the generative presencing, the power, the presence, the knowledge, omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence, all of those things, and omni-action. When that's what's present, it's not personal. And then the Betty doesn't get to vote. It looks like Betty doing stuff, but that is not what the action source is. The action source is being itself being. And this is the way it looks. And in order it's like patting you on the back when you do the right thing. You get a sense of peace and joy and freedom. And it's there all the time. We don't stand in it all the time, but it is there. Whenever Betty shows up, being is present with all of that. And when Betty is not taking the floor and allows being to acknowledge the facts, then all of that is present.
Yeah. So one of the other ones that I love here is also to look at this statement. You are a law to yourself. The body will reflect what governs it, because body or language is all reflection. Yeah?
Body is conscious thought.
Okay.
So when you are a law to yourself, your conscious thought runs the show called your body.
Showing up in language.
Yeah, sure.
So that would put language, that would put the external world, the things we're seeing, the things we're seeing in our external world, what that would do is that would put them, that has them be reflection of being itself being, or conscious thought, reflecting itself in the language or the circumstances in which we see. Is that a way I could look at it or no?
You have to say that again for me to hear what you're trying to say.
Okay. So when it says you're a law to yourself, the body will reflect what governs it. What I'm looking at is, okay, body, meaning conscious thought, then shows up in my world. So who I'm being, hang on, you can't talk because I got you muted because otherwise I reverberate back. So, so, so the body will reflect what governs it. Reflection in language showing up. It's almost like what's showing up in language is already past. It's not, it's the right now, right now, right now, right now. What shows up in language already past, reflecting the being that's calling it forth in the first place.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's what we're talking about.
And the being that you're consciously living is giving you the language, which is constantly shifting, keeping up with who you're being each moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So right on.
Really interesting. What I want to say to people watching, go ahead and put your comments in the comment box. And if you have any questions, if you want to participate, we would love it. Please enter those in, and we will take those up. Any questions that you have. So I really, this is key, because in the world we live in right now, the circumstances that are there, sometimes you're like, yeah, this is great. But other times you're like, not so much what I thought. I'm kind of down. This isn't what I expected. And then what? And then what? Do you allow that to dictate who you be? Or do you step into the possibility of who you are and you having a say in that and who you're going to be? Because that's where the discipline is.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Oh, okay. Yeah. The thing you want to get present with is that the language world is always past. It's never present. So you are literally living in the past, being dictated to by something that's already dead and gone. And there's no freedom there. When you are consciously aware of the facts of being, whatever they are, for you, the best you know, you will experience in your world, in your language world, the freedom that's present, like right now and it's past, right now and it's past, right now and it's past, so that your language world is always shifting. It's really presenting you with a view of where you're standing. And know that it's always just a second in the past, because you've moved on since then. But the minute you forget who you are and become part of that language world, that magic disappears. Because then you're a victim of what you're witnessing as language, and it has no capacity to cause anything, to generate anything. So you're literally stuck with what the language world has to offer until you step out of it again.
Right. So that brings me to this: the experience of health, wealth, and happiness occurs reliably as being or consciousness is acknowledged as source. And that is absolutely what I have found, not just today, but in my living. And I can point back to it and I can say that's exactly what was operative. Because if I know that I'm not going to be a reaction machine, and yet I know that there's so much more there, just claiming that creates a different being and a different seeing than you would otherwise have.
Yep. Yep, that's very good. So we go in and out as daily living with whether or not we are reacting to what we're seeing around us, or whether we are the leader, saying what's so and having that be what we see around us.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And there's nobody ever present. It's just this, being is one. So it isn't like I have to get the army together. is like I just have to be myself.
Yeah.
And being myself is a full-time job because it's so easy to step out of it because we think that we have made something happy over there in the language arena. And when we think that, guess what? We've dropped out of the generative mode of being and are wallowing around in the language thinking it means something.
Right. And it's so easy to go there.
I know, because we think we like it.
And we have opinions, and we like this and we don't like that, and this is good and this is bad. And how I'm going to know that I'm going to be happy is because life tomorrow is going to look this way that I expect it to. And all of that is a smokescreen clouding your vision of what's actually possible in your living. And say that again.
If you can just be yourself,
yeah,
with continuity. Mm-hmm. And incidentally, continuity is really not a good word to use for being because it's a time warp and it occurs only in language. But the consistent living of who you are, the acknowledgement of the facts of being, constant. That's the word I want, constancy rather than continuity. You want to be constant in your acknowledgement.
Yeah. And the thing that provides is infinite unfolding, infinite willingness to allow your picture, the picture of your world, the world you're walking through, to be exactly as it is, and have yourself go right on. And that's really powerful. Go ahead, Mom.
And the thing about the way you're saying that, it's like it provides. I provide it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The being present, not Betty, but the being that's present that allows Betty to occur, that provides it. And it's just one presence. It's not like something over there is helping me out.
Right.
It's always present. And all it takes is recognition, acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Willingness.
Yeah. And that's where the discipline is. That's where the discipline is. It's unlimited freedom and boundless joy. And yet there's true discipline in being at choice in what you allow to inform you. And that is a choice you make every single minute, is what is it you're going to allow to inform you. And if you're going to allow the language world, the picture, the circumstances to inform you about how you should feel and what you should think and what you should believe, then there you are in the paradox, in the human world of paradox, and you're completely sort of separate from the being that's actually generating your living every minute.
Yeah, you're a victim of your view, your point of view, your POV.
That's right, POV.
Your point of view is all the stuff that's past because you've always got a new point of view. And when you pay attention to the point of view, you're sitting in the past. You have to be willing to not know to have the next what, because it's out of the not know that the generation occurs.
Well, now you're talking about creation. You're talking about creativity. And I look at it and I think it's curiosity. When you can let things be, you start getting curious about why that and how come that looks that way. That's interesting. Rather than going right to your judgment. Go ahead. What'd you say?
And maybe so, maybe not.
Yeah.
Because when you say, well, now, wait a minute, that's sort of like Betty talking. But when you get the idea, when you're listening for the presence that you are, and you really are in the feel of that, kind of like the experience you had this morning. When you're in the feel of that, there's no concern at all for the picture. There's an excitement and a curiosity because the idea is presenting itself, and it's on and on and on and on, and it grows bigger than, it's like dropping a stone in the water, the ripples, it keeps going. And there's no, because there's always what's new, what's going on, and infinity never repeats, never duplicates, and infinity is characteristic of who you are. So you just don't have any way to drag the picture. The picture doesn't have any life at all. But when you wallow in it, you give it a lot of stuff, and then you're the victim of that. But when you step out, you've got freedom like you've never heard of before.
Yeah.
And you've got newness, and you've got freshness, and you've got, wow, what is that all about? And I thought I was free yesterday, but boy, that's nothing compared to what's going on now, and now, and now, and it goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very exciting to have you see that.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of comments. So this is one that I thought was great. Jennifer says, poverty, POV.
Great.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
And Sarah Busey says, who said count all for good?
It is all good, because if you've looked at the word all is infinite mind, and infinite in there means no way that it repeats itself 1 second.
Yeah.
It's always brand new. There's nothing I have to get stuck in.
Yeah. And the one thing that I want to say is that when you said it's listening for the idea, when you're actually choosing your point of view, you're choosing your attitude, you're choosing what's going to take up your headspace, if you will. What opens up for me was curiosity, freedom, joy, automatically there, right? And when you said, Betty, you said it's the idea. It's the idea that's present. You can listen for the idea. Like when I get curious about, what about these people that actually have a different point of view from me? And what's that all about? And it's a curiosity, right? But it's listening for the idea. And inside of that, we covered listening for the idea 2 episodes ago. So if you missed that episode, go back and look 2 episodes ago and find that, because it was a really fun session. But one of the things I want to say is, when you're listening for the idea and all of that, you have a whole different take, and there's a discipline that goes into choosing to be the author of your experience rather than letting what you see dictate that experience.
Yeah, you have to say that a little bit differently, Kim, when you really think it through, because you keep using choice and choose, and that's not accurate.
Okay.
It's really being, because what shows up is not something you have even had a way to think about, if I can put it that way, because it's not coming from the two-legged world. It's the next what? And you say, oh, that's the dress God's wearing today.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. I wanted to go back to Sarah Busey's comment. She said, count it all good. And literally, Mrs. Laird, when she wrote that kind of a comment, she would capitalize the word good because it was equivalent to God, or the God idea for her. And count it all, God being, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
The God idea in action is all there is. And it goes on and on. It's always on the brink of the unknown. And it's always something I've never seen, heard, or felt before. Even though my two-legged sense says, oh, yeah, I know about that.
Right.
Not true.
So what I want to say is, here we are coming to the end of our episode. And I want to end with this one, and we can talk about this. Students daily demonstrate That willingness to acknowledge reality or consciousness as source makes a significant difference in their human experience.
Freeze it up.
And that you have it. And that's it. There you have it. That is the thing to think about. And Betty, I'm going to unmute you and you can say your thing and then we can call it a wrap.
Yeah, I was going to say, fix that noise thing so I don't have to be muted. I can't interrupt you that way.
No, it's been brilliant. All right, guys, that's all we've got for tonight. We're going to be on another week from now. We'll be on at 5 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, and we'll have our next episode. So stay tuned, stay cool, and acknowledge the divinity in all things. Go ahead, Betty.
Tell them about the live cast.
We have a live cast happening on November 14th and 15th, Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 1 each day, live with Betty on a live cast on Zoom, where you get to interact and explore the practice of scientific metaphysics. I want to invite you to attend, to sign up. And how you do that is you go out to the Institute of Metaphysical Science website and you sign up to attend. And that's it. You reserve your spot and we'll send you the link and follow-ups, and then you can come in and you can participate.
The other thing that I wanted to remind everybody is that the open mic, which usually is on the first Sunday of the month, is next Sunday, the 8th.
Okay, very good. And you can also sign up to attend that by going to the website and signing up. So until then, we'll see you next week. Love to see you on the live cast or the open mic. And please check that out. And we'll be talking to you 1 week from today.